The app is about the fastest way possible to build your business in network marketing. There are 4 words that you'll totally understand by the time I'm through. Understand, patience, duplication, and prospecting. Now, we have done seminars all over the world, and I always start with asking the question, when you sponsor a new person in your business, how much teaching and training time does it take you before your new person can sponsor someone? Can you do it in 1 or 2 hours? How about 2 or 3 days? Then I say, how many of you have sponsored people, they've been with you 3 and 4 months and they still have not sponsored anybody? Well, how would you like to know why they haven't sponsored anybody? The answer is so simple when you hear it. Because see, nobody has taught them something that they can do. And of course, that is what's going to happen by the time we're through with this tape, because you will be able to teach someone virtually in 10 to 15 minutes enough information so they can actually start sponsoring and building a business. Now, we've been with the same company for now 24 years. And we actually started with 4 people, and we have had over 1 million people come into our downline. And 95% of those million come from the original 4. So that kind of should tell you something there, that you don't have to go out and recruit a lot of people. In fact, we don't use the word recruit because we're not recruiting people to sell for us. We sponsor people so we can go to work for them. So it doesn't take a lot of people for you to sponsor to build a very, very large organization. The word duplication is very important. And see, you're not duplicated in network marketing until the person that you sponsor is 3 levels deep. Because you have to teach the person that you sponsor so they can teach the person they sponsor. And if you can do that in 10 to 15 minutes and start building your business, that is really huge. Of course, now with the app can do this for you. And that's really, really exciting. We wear a pin, and it's on our collar, and it says, "Own your life." Now, people will ask about that, and we tell them that owning your life stands for having time, money, and health. Do you realize that most people don't even know one person that has all 3? Young people, millennials, if they're making $60,000, $100,000 a year, they have a little bit of money, but they really don't have any time, because they take out the work time and the commuting time and things that they have to do every day. I mean, they just don't have too much time. Now, their health's okay. And older people, they have a lot of time, but they're running out of money. And of course, their health's going bad. In fact, I heard on the news the other day that the average American in an emergency cannot put their hands on $1,000 without having to borrow it. So anyway, it's a simple question. How would you like to have time, money, and health at a time in your life when you could really enjoy it? And that's what you have when you own your life. Now, I'm going to teach you a system that it only takes about 10, 12 minutes to teach you the system. But before I do, I want to give you a little bit of background information. First of all, let me ask you this question. If you owned a brand new Lamborghini or Ferrari, would you let your best friend go for a drive around the block in your brand new Lamborghini or Ferrari if they did not know how to drive? Now, I bet 100% on people saying, no, you would not do that. Well, see, everybody thinks that their vehicle is the hot vehicle. So they go over to somebody's home and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, telling them all about their vehicle, which is their company, product, and marketing plan. Sure, they're going to get them excited about this hot vehicle. They're going to sign them up, but then the person goes out the next day and talks to what could be their best prospects, and they are crashing and burning all over the place. And you know why? Because, see, nobody taught them how to drive. In fact, it's kind of sad, that they talk to two people and they get rejected because they didn't approach them properly, and they already quit. They don't even get a chance to get started. The other analogy is that with the system, it's going to be like you can hand the person the key to the vehicle. They can get in it right now, start going down the freeway, sponsoring and teaching and building their business. But now notice this. While they're building their business, they can learn all about it, okay? So again, you don't have to wait for them to learn about all the products and all the details of the company before they can actually start sponsoring. Now, another very important word, of course, was patience. And here I refer to one of the napkin presentations in my book, which has the 10 napkin presentations. It's number 4. And it's what your business should look like. Your business should look like the biggest building you've ever seen in your life. Now, I want you to think about that building, and that building represents massive income for you. But see, you cannot see the building until you dig the foundation, and that takes a little time. We were living in Las Vegas when they built the Palazzo, and we watched them dig the foundation on that building. It took them like about a year, and it was so big that when they got finished with the foundation, you could put a 7-story parking garage underground. So you couldn't see the building. Just like in network marketing, when you're getting started, you don't see the big income right away. You got to do the foundation before you can see the building, and you got to do the foundation in network marketing before you can see the income. And we like to use the example how long would it take you to find 5 of your friends or people you meet and get to know that would like to own their life? Well, let's say it took you, 3 months to find the 5. And then you're going to help them, because remember, it's a sponsor and teach. You're going to help them to get their 5. So now you have in another 3 months, 25 on your second level. And then you're going to teach your people to teach their people so they can sponsor their 5, which now you've got 125 on the third level. But let's say it took you 6 months to do that. You're in the business for 1 year, and now you have your foundation. Now, some people can speed this up. They could do it 3 weeks for the first 5, 3 weeks for the second 5, and 6 weeks for the next 5. So you'd be at the 155 people on the 3 levels in a matter of just a couple months. I mean, that is really, really exciting. So anyway, you got to dig the foundation or you won't see the big income. Now, it really bothers me when people tell people that get in a network marketing program, they're going to make a lot of money in like 3-6 months. That doesn't happen. People ask me, Don, what is your number one thing for a new person to do getting started in network marketing? And I say, well, unless they have a spouse that is supporting the family or enough money socked away to live on for a year or 2, get a job. I mean, you don't have to like the job, but at least you have a light at the end of the tunnel having this job. Because I don't know of a network marketing company in the world where a person can start out from day one, make enough money to pay the mortgage, put food on the table, make all your bills. You just can't do it. So again, we go back to patience. It is going to take a little time to dig the foundation. If you're honest with people, then that's where you want to be. Okay, now, the thing that people don't really understand about network marketing is that only 15% of the people in the world are either sick, hurt, or into health. Now, that breaks down to 8% that are into health. Now, anyone that would argue that, I say, well, measure the square footage of the health food stores in your town and then all the supermarkets, and you won't have 8%. Stand on your busiest street corner for an hour, or busiest mall for an hour. Count all the fat and obese people that go by, and then you tell me if people are into health. Now, what's happening in our industry, okay, and that is that, like, for example, there's so many new companies getting started, and they're usually started by a salesperson who's seen some of these huge giant companies, and they think, oh boy, if I could start a network marketing company, I'm going to really make a fortune. And they come across the holy grail of a health product. They get a marketing plan designed, and then they go out, and guess what they do? They're out looking for people, recruiting, note the word recruiting, people to sell their products. Now, let me tell you, that does not work. Salespeople, incidentally, so you know, 90% of the people in network marketing are actually looking for salespeople. But do you realize that salespeople are not the best prospects, okay? Because they just don't they have a problem in network marketing. See, they don't understand there's a difference between network marketing and sales. They don't duplicate, and that's the number one problem. You can look at the genealogy of a salesperson, and they could recruit 50 to 100 people in 6 months to a year. And then what happens is that the end of the year, the people are dropping off faster than they can add them. So now what they're doing, you know, they think there's something wrong with their company, their sponsor, their products, whatever. But someone shows them another hot product, and they're off to another company. And guess what they do? They do the same thing with that company they did with the first one. And that's why we run into people that have been in and out of network marketing companies for 10, 15, 20 years, and they might have been in 4 to 6 or 7 different companies. And guess what? Every time they just do the same thing over again, and it doesn't work. See, salespeople have an advantage over non-sales type because they don't have any problem talking to strangers. But see, that asset becomes their downfall in the business because they're just out recruiting. They don't spend enough quality time with any one new person so they can get the duplication process started. Now, the non-sales type, it's very difficult for them to call on and meet strangers. But what happens is that we teach them all they have to do is make a friend. That's if they don't have any, and then meet their friends, okay? In fact, we tell people that you can literally program your mind for success when you go to bed at night. And we have fun with this when we're in Australia because, see, in Australia, when they go to bed at night, they have 60 million sheep to count, okay? Well, all we tell them is that put your head on the pillow and say, I'm going to make a friend. I'm going to meet their friends. I'm going to make a friend. I'm going to meet their friends. I'm going to make a friend. You do that until you go to sleep. For 1 week, your mind will be totally programmed for what you need to do to be successful in network marketing. Okay, now, I already mentioned that only 8% of the people are really into health. Now, let's say that they have a market of 8%, and there's a lot of competition, and catch this, 95% of the people don't want to sell. With our system, we have a market of 100%. Because see, 95% of the people want something, okay? The 5% on the top, they already have it all, and they'd like to live forever. So we virtually have a market of 100%. And, you know, when you think about it, everybody wants freedom. owning your life, having time, money, and health, that gives you freedom. They want a bigger house, bigger car, more time with their family, more time with their kids, whatever. It's just thousands of things that they want. So the system goes like this, very simple. All you do is talk to your friends or people that you've met and made a connection with. Don't start the process with a stranger. You got to make a connection with them first, and then you just have a conversation with them about what they want. Now let them talk. The more they talk, the better it is, because the more they want, the more serious they're going to be about their business. So let them talk, and then you kind of guide the conversation and say, well, how do you plan on getting what you want? Can you get it from your job? No. Traditional business doesn't work because we're talking about the masses. They can't afford a franchise or a traditional business. And let me tell you from experience that if they could, they're still not going to own their life because they're going to be there 10, 12, 14 hours a day. We owned an international house of pancakes for 4 years before we got into network marketing. And we had 35 teenage employees, and we were open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had 3 full days off in 4 years. So we know what it means not to be able to own your life. When you use the own your life approach with people, it's like you're putting a little stone in their shoe. Now, see, everybody can relate to having a little stone in their shoe. They just keep walking along. They don't do anything about it. But the stone we put in their shoe has the ability to grow, okay? The kid comes home and says, Dad, can you go to my football game, soccer game, basketball, whatever, okay? And say, sorry, son, but I've got to go to my job. There are 1,000 things to make the stone grow. We have people that have come to us after several years that they finally maybe retired or whatever, and they suddenly realized that we were right. They needed to do something. We had one person, he retired, and after like 50 years on his job, and he finally decided he wanted to get into network marketing because he didn't have enough money for the kind of retirement that he wanted. And the guy died in 6 months. So, you don't have to do that. Today people go massively in debt, getting student loans, going to college to do what? To get a job. We are not looking for people that want a job. We are looking for people who want an opportunity. So they can't get it from their job. They can't get it from a traditional business. The only way the masses that we can see are ever going to be able to really own their life, have time, money, and health, is in network marketing. Now, notice that we bring up network marketing right up front because we know there's a lot of misconceptions out there about it. But then we simply tell them, but here is the problem. 100% of the people in the world who are not in it don't understand it. 80 to 90% of the people who are in it don't understand it. And you'd be amazed how many company owners don't understand it. So the first step virtually now for the person to be able to own their life, they really need to understand network marketing. Now here's where my book comes in, because that's another tool that does the talking for you. The book was written over 35 years ago and has sold over 9 million copies, and it's in virtually all of the major languages: Russian, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Indian even. So plenty of languages. So when people read the book, that they understand network marketing. Now, once they understand it, now they are ready for a vehicle. And that's the company, product, and marketing. And that's up to you to share your vehicle with them. But guess what? All the companies now have websites that will share, that can do that talking for you. Okay, now I said that I would show you at the end of the presentation how you could do in 3 to 5 years, what we did in 24. Well, it's really simple. You can write this down on a piece of paper. I already mentioned the 5, 25, 125, then it goes to 625, 3,125, 15,625, 78,125. Now, that's duplication, okay? You got to have a huge business. Okay, now, the book, as I said, was written 35 years ago, okay? And so, bottom line, when the book was written, and in fact, when we started in the company 24 years ago, Al Gore hadn't discovered the internet yet, okay? So we didn't have the tools that we have today. And now, I'm not talking about social media and Facebook, okay? Because that's almost proven not to work, because when you think about it, anybody that would sign up under someone they've never met or don't know, got to know, I mean, those people, they see so many slick things coming through on the internet that you're lucky if they stay with you 2 weeks to a month and they're off already to the next deal. What I'm talking about is Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp, and there are other ways of communicating now all over the world, and it's free. I mean, every day I have a conversation, at least 1 or 2 people from different parts of the world. We couldn't do that 24 years ago. Now, beyond that, when you're ready for explain the vehicle to your prospect, you don't have to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours at their home. You send them a website. The companies have websites, and once they go through the websites, they can call you, and you can answer their questions for them. So to be able to have these kind of tools saves a lot of time. And I'll give you another example. Sizzle sessions. Back 24 years ago, you'd have a sizzle session, and people would come from 4 different directions, driving 15 minutes to an hour, and maybe spend an hour and a half, 2 hours at the sizzle session, get home, and after you do that 1-2 times a week for too long, the spouse stays home taking care of the children. Now you wonder why they hate network marketing, because they're home alone all the time. See, nowadays, we have a sizzle session. We tell the person the time, and they get on Skype or they get on Zoom. We don't even have to leave home to be able to do that. So now what I want you to do, next to the 5, 25, 125, etc., I'd like you to put the number 10. Because of all the technology and the tools that we have now, we used to say that once you got, the book was written about 5. Once you got to 5, then you're so busy now helping your downline, you better focus on that. But now because, we have more time because of the tools, then add 1 more, and then add 1 more, and get your base out to 10. So put 10 next to 5. You see the difference is 5. 10 gets 10 is 100 next to 25. The difference is 75. And then 10 times 100 is 1,000. Next to 125, the difference is 875. Anyway, do this on your own, complete the math, and carry that out another few levels, and you will see why you'll be able to do in 3 to 5 years what took us 24 years. I enjoyed talking to you, and the next step was to get back to the person who gave you the app, and they can get you the website for your company, and you can get started on the path of owning your life.